machine.
Organ grinder, yeah.
An organ grinder. And the monkey, a little small monkey would be on, and he'd do little tricks. He'd take his hat off, and this guy, and you'd give them, 5 or 10 cents, whatever. 5 or 10, that would be a lot of money at that time.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
I'll bring that down to a penny or two if he got anything. But yeah, the old guy, and then we had the vegetable stores, the horses. You buy your vegetables, the mother would come down, and the guy would come along, and he'd have the vegetables on the back of the truck, and the horse. And he'd ride along, and the mother would come down, I get a pound of this and a pound of that.
That is
so those stores.
In New York City, it's so funny.
And I remember many horses, they rode those horses until they fell. And I've seen horses on the street where they were stiff. Rigor mortis had set in, because the DC didn't come around and pick them up. They dropped right on the ground, from guy didn't have money, I guess, to feed the horses.
Man.
That was my 5-year. I'm glad we got out of there. Went out on Long Island.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever see like mafia activity or anything?
Well, I worked down in Brooklyn in the mafia area, and I never saw any. I mean, you wouldn't know.
Right.
I didn't know any mafia people. There were a few Italians. And the Goombas.
Well, you knew a lot of Italians.
A lot of Goombas, yeah.
Goomba.
Goomba.
What's a goom? Is goom just
Italian?
It's Italian. Like my Goomba, my friend.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know of any. But Red Hook, they were there because I used to do. Did I tell you about I used to do funerals on the side.
He used to drive. Second job, he would work for a
funeral home.
Wow.
And we would take the Italian funerals where you had a funeral car. You'd put a funeral car. But that I got associated with a lot of the mafia were buried, and they would. That's about as close as I got to any.
Did they have any?
They had the big funeral.
Big funerals, huh? A lot of flowers and everything.
That's a shame. Flower cars,
Oh, really? Yeah.
You don't have them here today, flower cars?
I don't know.
One car with a big back in the rack, and it put the flower cars were stands of flowers, and the Italians are very big for flowers, very big for funerals. And I take that flower car, bring it to the cemetery, and all those beautiful flowers and all that money spent, you take it over and one of the lots there, and throw all those flowers in one big pile. A big pile of flowers.
Wow. Did you have any good stories of your when you were driving?
I used to have if you drove for a funeral home, a driver, you would get what they call a carry. You'd be able to you take the casket out and put it in the hearse. And for that, you would get $12, maybe. And every funeral home you went to, that I went to, were different places in Brooklyn and Jersey. And you would get the carry. If you got the carry, you got the driving money, and you got the carry, which was pretty good. And the carry, I never had. Oh, this sounds terrible. I used to work in one funeral home quite a bit, and two of the guys, and they were young guys, were embalmers. They were funeral directors. And I used to ride, if the funeral director would ride with, I would ride with the funeral director if I had the hearse. And I got to know them real well. But I had more fun and more laughs
With that job?
with that job than I ever had in my life. We had more fun. Used to call, I had this one guy eventually, he and his wife was a teacher in New York, in the New York system. She had a good job. And he was in the field, one of the directors. And one day they up and he come in, he said, we're going to St. Thomas. They moved to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. He went from this to that. That guy used to have more fun with him. If we got a heavy guy, you know, for the carry, you got a balloon today. You got a big one.
Oh man!
And then we were in the church. I many a time I had everything I could do to stop them busting out laughing. You know, you got to bring the casket down on the wheels and move it down in front of the church. And you did all kinds of things instead of driving, you know, the people back and forth. You had to do whatever the funeral director wanted you to do. But yeah, he went to the Virgin. I never knew what happened to him. But he and his wife, she had a very good job at the city of New York, and he made out very well. And they had no family, and there he went.
Pitched it in and it went.
St. Thomas.
Probably pretty affordable back then too.
Yeah, it was quite a move at that time.
Yeah.
A lot of years ago.
So funny.
But it's a terrible thing to say. It's such a solemn time, but when you're not related to it, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to go into I had to bring bodies from one floor to another floor, and some of them, like women, they looked like they were sleeping. And you take them from one floor and move them down to another. I mean, and you got to the point where it didn't matter too much. It's a kind of a morbid topic, but it's a terrible time. I mean, then we had young, children, which were really, really, really tough too. We had young. You got to close the casket on a young. It's really tough. But that's life.
Did you do that on Saturday and Sunday, or just Saturday?
Well, on Saturday I did it any day during the week.
Right? Oh, okay.
I got a call.
Oh, yeah. Because Dad would work nights a lot.
I lived on Long Island. I had to go to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn I take the family to Long Island. Come back and drop the car back in the.
Yeah, you would get off of work and go. He'd work all night and then he'd go right to the funeral home.
Whew. I should take a family. If they only knew, I would be on the Long Island Expressway. I used to take no-dos because the sun. We'd go into the sun. It was early, and off the windshield, off the wipers would. My eyes were. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I had a whole family. I'm doing about 65. But that was part of the.
Yeah.
Then I have to take that and take the people home and.